Well, hello again, Pastor Ray Barnett here with you, and I'm glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. As always, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Today here in upstate New York, it's a rather, a little bit cold, cloudy, overcast, a little slow flurries going on, and by the weekend we're supposed to get a few more flurries. Today in the 20s, tomorrow almost 60. Quite a jump, and it has been that way for several weeks now. Anyway, we're going to be here indoors for quite some time, I think. All right, let me jump right into this today, and I remind you, because of the new subscribers that we have, it's important, if you want to get something out of these broadcasts, that you stick with me for the entire broadcast, which I try to limit to 20 minutes. As I told you, this topic, anxiety, depression, mental health issues, is a very broad one, very deep, and, I could do hour-long broadcasts, but it's not going to work out very well, because not many people are going to stick with it for that long. And it is kind of a good segue. That statement is a good segue to introduce you to this topic, which is going to be pretty much right on point, I think, for what it's going to take for you, and especially those of you who have had long issues with anxiety and depression and frustrations and angers and fears and all these nervous symptoms that we talk about, the palpitations and so on and so forth. The subject of discipline, and in an interesting way, sticking with a broadcast for 20 minutes, when you really think about it, it's not that long and not that much of an investment. If in your case, which I know that it's quite a few of you have had, ongoing issues or lifelong issues with anxiety and palpitations and all these different things. Sticking with the broadcast for 20 minutes in an age of constantly moving around and clicking and images and things moving so fast and so quickly, we have discussed the problem of the social media addiction, where you're just hopping along all over the place. To actually stick with the broadcast for the 20 minutes or so that I do it is a good way to discipline yourself. And that's my topic for today, because discipline is what it's going to take to find the final cure. In other words, to be symptom-free for good. That's what you want. Although I will issue one caveat with that statement, a final cure, which is symptoms, once they disappear, which if you have, worked at it long enough and hard enough, they do go. Remember I told you those symptoms will disappear for a few hours. For those of you who've had protracted cases, then a few days, and then weeks and months, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, wow, I'm really free. But this is the caveat. Symptoms do have a way of all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, returning. So discipline yourself to watch these broadcasts, and discipline yourself to watch them. If you can't watch it every day, then as much as possible. And again, I would, in your mind, if you're subscribed and you're going to stick with this and give it a good, honest try, to schedule in that 20 minutes a day whenever you have the time to watch this broadcast. Doesn't have to be once it goes right up. Would be a good way to discipline yourself, because that's what it's going to take. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Spartan-like discipline. I know that many of you are familiar with the city of Sparta in ancient Greece. Some of you probably have seen the movie 300 about the Battle of Thermopylae, where the Spartans withstood the Persian army, and they were vastly outnumbered. But the courage and the fortitude shown by the Spartans, even though one may argue that they lost the battle, It has been recorded historically that the Battle of Thermopylae actually altered history. If it had gone this way, history would have went that direction, and then it went this way, and so on. But you could research that for yourself. I want to talk to you a little bit about this recent, few years now, interest in living a Spartan-like existence. That's not what I'm going to recommend to you, that you live like a Spartan. But the applications to your life and for your life has great relevance for your symptoms and for the times in which we live right now. So I won't go into a long explanation of the life of the Spartans. Again, if you're interested in that, take a time to just do a little study on it and see the unique city-state that the citizens of Spartan had. But, as I just mentioned, there has been, in the last few years, a renewed interest in their lifestyle, and not so much the warrior aspect of it, but the discipline, the way they lived their lives. The Spartans, if they heard the enemy was near them or approaching or found in a certain place, they never asked how many. They only asked where. It's said that the value of one Spartan soldier was equal to maybe 3 or 4 warriors found anywhere in Greece or maybe found anywhere in the world. This is how they lived their life. For you, I'm not recommending that you live like a Spartan. I am recommending, though, that you live a disciplined life. Now, here's a little nugget for those of you on the more severe end of symptoms, such as schizophrenia. It's a very good thing for people, for instance, with schizophrenia, but it'd be a good idea for you too, to live a scheduled life, a routine, to have a routine. If you're obsessive compulsive, well, okay, there's going to have to be some giving there to break that habit of thinking, habit of reacting. But ordinarily, it's just a good idea to have a routine. All successful people have a routine they live in, and they live a disciplined life. I've said to you repeatedly that this is not a quick fix channel. This is not a I don't give you hacks. I'm trying to give you lessons that come in small little segments over a period of weeks, months, and years. Some of you have been with me now for a year and a half that I've been out of the air. So discipline. Now, I always accent 2 things without going into all the nuances of what goes along with anger and goes along with fear. There's many nuances, but we stick with those 2 to make it simple, keep it simple. To discipline yourself, to not respond emotionally to your symptoms, to your outer environment, to both, is going to spare you more symptoms, or say it this way, for you, those of you who have symptoms, and some of you have some pretty protracted, and you have some very, let's say, severe symptoms, to react emotionally, working yourself up, processing your thoughts, getting all whipped up into a frenzy, will not only make your symptoms worse, but will more than likely precipitate more symptoms and even newer symptoms, some of which may be more frightening than the ones you already have. So let me say to you, bluntly, you're in a tough spot. You're in a tough spot. But if you react emotionally to anger, to fear, both, those symptoms are going to get worse. Just think of a fire and you're throwing gasoline on it. That's what emotions will do, really, to almost anybody. But for you especially, the price tag on that will be very, very high. So this takes discipline. And frankly, we live in a society right now, or maybe even in the world sense, in the planet. It's not something that people ordinarily want. They don't want good discipline, they want comfort. For you, you have to get used to living a disciplined life. not reacting or overreacting to the symptoms of your body, whatever they may be, thoughts, obsessive thoughts and compulsive thoughts, and well, any type of evil thoughts, that you can't react emotionally with anger and fear, because if you do, they get worse. Think of a Chinese handcuff. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Put your fingers in, and if you're unaware, if you're new to that type of thing, like you're a kid, you try to get out, the harder you pull, the tighter it gets. In other words, the harder you pull, that Chinese handcuff is designed to resist. Your body does the same thing. If you react emotionally, and you get all emotional about it, and you're constantly talking about it or complaining about it, if you're constantly giving in to the symptom, reacting even hysterically, which of course is the worst case scenario, the symptom will grow. It will get worse. And as I just mentioned, you will more than likely spawn new symptoms, and even ones that you're not used to. Then it's going to get very, very crazy, very bad. So the life of a Spartan, I'm not recommending that you read up on the Spartans and start doing the things that they did, but to learn a lesson. As a matter of fact, you can learn this lesson from almost anyone who's been successful at anything. It's a life of discipline. It's a life of, in your case, to narrow it down, it's a life of learning new habits, not giving in to the symptom, not letting it dominate you, not letting it rule you. It's really a struggle within yourself. Whereas we can look at the Spartans and see that they were warriors, and their fight was outwardly, against enemies, but they had the inner discipline, and that's what you need. So what I recommend in these teachings is that you just begin to develop the habit of living a disciplined life. For example, getting up on time, not procrastinating on important things, whatever duties that you have to perform, you do them, even with your symptoms. See, this is going to train the brain and the body to not react emotionally. And if you stay calm, that's been a constant theme of this broadcast. If you stay calm, which is not easy to do, and I say this all the time, that's just to encourage you. So you don't think, I stayed calm and nothing happened. It takes time. It takes weeks, it takes months, and in some cases it could take years. Okay, so I don't like that kind of news. I know, nobody does. But it's the way out. It's the way to conquer your symptoms for good. So having a routine is a good idea. Getting up at the same time, going to bed at the same time. Again, not just the Spartans, but all successful people have had these types of routines, when they're going to read, when they're going to eat, what they're going to eat, dressing, the whole thing. But particularly, again, for you to not respond to those palpitations, to those sweaty palms, to those racing thoughts, because they are frightening, okay? Well, so we know that. They are frightening, frustrating, inconvenient, and you go through a whole long list of all these things that they most certainly are. And again, the temptation is to keep pulling harder, and it's getting worse, or it's going to make the situation worse. So I just have one simple exhortation for you today, and that's it. Live a Spartan-like existence with respect to your symptoms, not living a Spartan life en toto, everything you do. But have a Spartan-like attitude towards your symptoms so that the body-brain becomes habituated, but in a new way and in a better way. For instance, your symptoms are coming because they have built up habits, and it's keeping you perhaps, and I know some of you have spoken to me, written to me, this is a constant thing for you, all right? The way out is discipline. The way out is not responding in anger, not responding in fear, not getting yourself worked up. And again, you take it from there, you get the idea. Told you a few days ago that one of the greatest advances in science, in medical science, is the study of neurology, the nervous system, the brain. And neuroplasticity, the ability for the brain to make these are new physical connections between right brain, left brain, and to develop new habits. And you can really apply it to anything, including starting to read books and memorizing the Bible and a prayer life. But the brain has the ability to build new neural connections and to learn new things. And that's what we're aiming at here on this channel. We're aiming at teaching the body and the brain to respond differently to your habits of nervousness and symptoms that come so-called out of the blue. We've discussed that. They usually don't come just out of the blue. There's been a lot of tension building up to that point. Got to keep the body relaxed, which I say this all the time, is not easy. So that's a given. It's not going to be easy. But if you'll do the hard work, discipline yourself, don't talk so much, take out the adjectives of, oh, it's an excruciating headache. Take out excruciating, just simply say, I have a headache. You'll find that the brain starts to learn from the body, motionless sitting, just sitting in a chair, breathing deep, not moving fingers, toes. It's a discipline and very difficult to do if you're in the midst of a panic attack. You say, Pastor Ray, that's impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's been done. I've done it. Millions of people have done it. And you want to be on that list of people who have conquered their symptoms through discipline in the lessons that you're getting here, or maybe even other things that you're reading or from your counselor or your doctor. It's a disciplined life, but it's one that's well worth living when the end result is that you're freed from your symptoms. Okay, let me pray for you today. Father, again, I pray for my friends. This is these are tough pills to swallow. But I know, and many of us know, this is the way out. To stop being nervous, to stop being fearful and afraid and angry and bitter and all these things. It comes through discipline and a refusal to give in to these things and react emotionally, or in the worst case, to act hysterically. Bless my friends with peace today, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, that's all I have for you today. Today's December the 15th. This evening I will be on Facebook giving my Bible study. If you're interested, you could tune in. Just go to my Facebook page, and 7 p.m. tonight. And it is every Wednesday night. I'm there and teaching. And again, if you want to be part of this group, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, I appreciate a thumbs up if if you don't mind. Alrighty, God bless. If everything goes well for me, I'll be with you here again tomorrow on the Oasis. Until then, God bless, and may the peace of Christ be with all of you. God bless.